The first thing you need to understand about living with an alien woman is that she didn't think I was strange. She thought I was inefficient, not ugly, not primitive, not fragile, just inefficient. It was the way I used doors that bothered her the most. "Why do you conceal objects you are not actively using?" she had asked me on her second day in my apartment, standing perfectly still in the middle of the kitchen like a mannequin that had suddenly gained curiosity. Her large silver eyes were fixed on the refrigerator. I blinked, because that's where food goes. She tilted her head slightly. That slow, deliberate tilt she did whenever she was analyzing something she didn't like. "But you already know the food is there." "Yes. And yet you still hide it. It keeps it cold." She stared at me for another 3 seconds. Then she stepped forward, placed her hand on the refrigerator door, and knocked. 3 gentle taps. I stared at her. "Why did you knock?" She looked at me as if the answer was obvious. "It is a closed container. It's a refrigerator." "Yes." "You don't have refrigerators on your planet?" "We have thermal preservation fields," she said calmly. "They do not require concealment." I opened my mouth, closed it, then opened the fridge and grabbed a bottle of water. She watched the entire process like it was a live autopsy. Living with her had been like that since the day she arrived. Her name, at least in human pronunciation, was Lyra. She was part of some interspecies cultural exchange program that I absolutely did not remember applying for. One day I was living alone in my quiet apartment, and the next day I was sharing it with a 6-foot-tall alien woman with smooth pale skin, faintly glowing veins, and absolutely no understanding of personal space. She wasn't rude. She wasn't aggressive. She was just curious. Constantly. She watched everything. The way I ate, the way I slept, the way I scratched my head when I was thinking. Once, I caught her staring at me while I was brushing my teeth. "How long have you been standing there?" I asked, mouthful of foam. "For minutes," she replied calmly. "Why?" "You make unusual facial distortions." "I'm brushing my teeth." She nodded slowly, like that was somehow fascinating. The thing was, Lyra wasn't emotionless. She laughed sometimes. Quietly. Softly. Like she was testing the concept. But she never seemed embarrassed. Never nervous. Never ashamed. She walked around my apartment like everything belonged equally to both of us. Because, to her it did. On her planet, privacy didn't exist. She had explained it to me one night while we sat on opposite sides of the couch, watching a nature documentary she had chosen because she found human animals inefficient but entertaining. "We evolved in communal environments," she said. "Individual concealment was disadvantageous. Transparency ensured survival." "So, you never had bedrooms?" I asked. "We had rest chambers," she said. "Shared. And bathrooms." She gave me a strange look. Why would sanitation require isolation? I didn't know how to answer that. She had told me about their energy pools. Massive glowing reservoirs where her species gathered to clean themselves. Hundreds of them at once. No separation. No shame. No embarrassment. Just existence. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I should have. Because 3 weeks later, I made the single most catastrophic mistake of my life. I forgot to lock the bathroom door. It had been a long day. Stressful. Exhausting. My brain felt like it had been microwaved. All I wanted was 10 minutes of peace under hot water. I stepped into the shower and let the heat wash over me. It was quiet. Safe. Private. Or at least I thought it was. Then I heard the sound that would haunt me forever. The bathroom door opening. At first, my brain didn't register it as danger. Just a sound. A harmless, meaningless sound. Then I heard her voice. Calm. Curious. Completely unaware of the apocalypse she had just unleashed. "I wish to ask you a question about your nutritional storage." I turned, and there she was, standing in the doorway, looking directly at me. For 1 full second, neither of us moved. My brain stopped functioning. Completely. Total shutdown. Then survival instinct kicked in. I screamed. Not a dignified scream. Not a controlled scream. It was a full, Raw, primal noise of pure panic. Lyra froze. Her eyes widened slightly. Not in fear, in shock. And then something happened I had never seen before. Her skin changed color. It started at her neck, a faint pink glow beneath the surface. Then it spread upward, across her face, her ears, her cheeks. Brighter, brighter, until her entire face was glowing bright pink. She didn't say anything. She didn't apologize. She didn't react at all. She simply turned around and walked away. The door closed quietly behind her. I stood there under the water, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My brain scrambled to process what had just happened.
She had seen me.
She had seen everything. And she had turned pink. I finished my shower in record time. My hands were still shaking as I got dressed, my brain cycling through every possible interpretation of what had just happened. Was she offended? Was she confused? Was she traumatized? I stepped out into the hallway slowly. She was sitting on the couch, perfectly upright, perfectly still, her hands resting on her knees, and her skin was still glowing pink. She wasn't looking at anything, just staring straight ahead like a computer that had frozen mid-task. "Lyra?" I said cautiously. She didn't respond immediately. Then, slowly, she turned her head toward me. Her face was still pink. "I have committed a violation," she said quietly. Her voice was different. Not calm. Not confident. Uncertain. "I didn't know you were in there," I said quickly. "It's fine. It was an accident." She stared at me. Her pink glow intensified slightly. I failed to observe concealment protocol. "It's not a protocol," I said. "It's just a door."
She didn't respond. She just kept looking at me.
And for the first time since I had met her, she looked embarrassed. And I had absolutely no idea what that meant. She stayed pink. That was the first thing I noticed. Not fading. Not fluctuating. Just pink. At first, I thought maybe it was like a human blush. A quick reaction. A temporary thing. Something that would disappear after a few minutes once the awkwardness settled. It didn't. 30 minutes later, she was still sitting on the couch in the exact same position. Back straight. Hands resting neatly on her knees. Eyes forward. And glowing like a neon embarrassment sign. I stood in the kitchen pretending to drink water while secretly watching her over the rim of the glass. She hadn't moved. Not even once. "Lyra," I said carefully. Her eyes shifted toward me instantly, like she had been waiting for permission to exist again. "Yes." Her voice was quieter than usual. Not weaker. Just restrained. "You don't have to sit like that," I said. "You didn't do anything wrong." She processed that. Or at least she tried to. "I entered a restricted sanitation chamber while you were exposed," she said. "It's just a bathroom." "It was closed." "Yes." "And I opened it." "Yes, but..." Her pink glow intensified slightly. "I observed your unprotected biological structure without authorization." I blinked. "You make it sound like a war crime." She didn't smile. That was when I realized she was serious. Completely serious. "I did not detect distress indicators prior to entry," she continued. "Your vocal response suggested severe psychological damage." "That was just surprise," I said quickly. Humans scream when they're surprised. She tilted her head slightly. "Even when not under physical threat?" "Yes." She absorbed that slowly. Her fingers tightened slightly on her knees. "I have caused you distress," she said. "No," I said immediately. "You didn't cause distress. You just startled me." She didn't look convinced. "I will implement corrective behavior," she said. That sentence should have scared me more than it did. Because Lyra didn't do anything halfway. She did everything with absolute, terrifying commitment. At first, the changes were small. She knocked on her bedroom door before entering. Her own bedroom. 3 soft taps. Then she would open it and step inside. I watched her do it twice before I said anything. "You know you don't have to knock on your own door, right?" She looked at me calmly. "The door is closed." "Yes, but it's your room." She considered that. Then she knocked again before going inside anyway. It escalated from there. She knocked on the bathroom door, even when she knew it was empty. She knocked on the closet before opening it. She knocked on the refrigerator. 3 gentle taps. I stared at her. Lyra. Yes. You don't have to knock on the fridge. It is a closed container. It's not the same. She nodded slowly, then knocked on the microwave. That was the moment I realized this had gone too far. Later that evening, I was sitting on the couch watching a movie when she approached cautiously. She stopped about 2 meters away, which was unusual. She normally stood much closer. I wish to enter this seating area, she said. I stared at her. It's the couch. Yes. You live here. Yes. You don't need permission. She hesitated. Then slowly, she sat down. Her movements were careful, controlled, like she was afraid of making another mistake. Her pink glow had faded slightly, but it was still there, lingering faintly beneath her skin. I am attempting to adapt to human privacy requirements, she said. You don't need to adapt that hard, I said gently. Her silver eyes shifted toward me. When I entered the sanitation chamber, your reaction was immediate and severe, she said. Your nervous system registered threat. I rubbed the back of my neck awkwardly. It wasn't threat. It was just embarrassment. She frowned slightly. Embarrassment is a distress response. Yeah, but it's not dangerous. She went quiet, thinking, analyzing. Why does visual exposure of your biological form create embarrassment? She asked. I opened my mouth, closed it. I had no idea how to explain something so fundamentally human. It's just private, I said. She tilted her head again. What makes it private? I struggled for words. It's something you only share when you trust someone. She froze. Not visibly, not dramatically, but something inside her paused. Her glow intensified slightly. Trust, she repeated softly. Yes. She looked down at her hands. Her fingers flexed slowly. I did not intend to claim trust without permission, she said quietly. Something about the way she said that made my chest tighten. You didn't claim anything, I said gently. It was an accident. She didn't respond immediately. Then she asked, Is trust reversible? I blinked. What? If it is given unintentionally, she said, can it be withdrawn? I stared at her. She wasn't asking academically. She was asking personally. No, I said softly. Trust isn't something you can break by accident. She looked at me again. Her pink glow flickered. Not brighter, not weaker, just warmer. I will continue observing privacy protocol, she said. You don't have to be afraid of me, I said. Her eyes widened slightly. I am not afraid of you, she said. She paused, then added quietly, I am afraid of harming you. That hit harder than it should have. Because she wasn't talking about physical harm. She was talking about emotional harm. And somehow, somewhere between her knocking on refrigerators and apologizing for seeing me naked, this strange alien woman who didn't understand privacy had become someone who cared deeply about respecting mine. She sat beside me in silence after that. Not stiff, not frozen, just present. Her glow slowly faded as the night went on. But every now and then, when she looked at me and thought I wasn't noticing, a faint trace of pink would return. The knocking became a permanent part of my life. Not normal knocking. Not casual human knocking. Lyra's knocking was precise. Controlled. Always 3 taps. Always evenly spaced. Always followed by a pause long enough to make you question your entire existence. It didn't matter what the object was. Door. Closet. Cabinet. Refrigerator. Once, I watched her knock on the coffee table before picking up a book. I stared at her. Lyra. She looked at me calmly. Yes. Why did you knock on the table? It was a closed surface. It's a table. Yes. You don't knock on tables. She absorbed that, nodded slowly, then pointed at the drawer in the table. This requires knocking. I rubbed my face. Lyra, you don't have to knock on everything. She tilted her head slightly. Privacy boundaries must be respected. It's not that strict. She didn't look convinced. Over the next few days, her behavior became even more careful. She announced her movements like she was navigating a minefield. I am approaching the kitchen. I am opening the refrigeration unit. I am standing behind you. That last one nearly killed me. I turn around so fast I almost dropped the glass in my hand. She stepped back immediately, her faint pink glow flickering. I apologize. My proximity caused alarm. No, you just surprised me. She nodded, processing. Then she took 2 steps back and stayed there. That was the problem. She stayed back more now. Before the shower incident, she used to stand close when we talked. Not uncomfortably close. Just close enough that I could see the faint glow of her veins under her skin. Close enough that I could feel her presence without looking. Now she kept distance. 2 meters. Sometimes more. It shouldn't have bothered me, but it did. One evening, we were sitting on opposite ends of the couch watching another nature documentary she had chosen. Something about deep ocean creatures. She seemed fascinated by things that survived under pressure. Her posture was perfect as always. Eyes focused on the screen. But she wasn't really watching. She was thinking. I could tell. She turned her head slightly toward me. I have been studying human privacy behavior, she said. That sounds terrifying, I replied. She ignored the joke. Humans conceal themselves even when alone. Yeah. Why? I shrugged. Habit, I guess. She was quiet for a moment. Privacy appears to extend beyond physical concealment, she said. It also includes emotional concealment. That surprised me. Yeah, I said slowly. It does. She nodded faintly. I am attempting to understand the boundary. What boundary? She looked at me directly. The point at which I am permitted to know you. That wasn't a question. It was a confession. I didn't know how to respond to that. You already know me, I said. She shook her head slightly. I know your observable behaviors. I do not know your concealed states. You mean my thoughts? Yes. I hesitated. That's normal, I said. Humans don't share everything. She went quiet again. Her fingers tightened slightly in her lap. I do not wish to violate you again, she said softly. You didn't violate me, I said immediately. She didn't respond. She just kept looking at her hands. Later that night, I was in my bedroom changing clothes. Nothing unusual. Just normal, boring human existence. I had my back turned to the door when I heard it. 3 knocks. Precise. Controlled. Careful. I smiled slightly. Progress. Yes. I called. No response. I frowned. Lyra? Silence. I assumed she had left. So I turned back toward my closet and pulled my shirt off. And that was when the door opened. Slowly. Carefully. She stepped inside. I wish to inform you that I will be utilizing the nurture. She stopped. Her eyes locked onto me. Everything froze. Her entire body went perfectly still. Her skin began to change. Pink. Brighter than before. Faster than before. Her glow surged across her face, down her neck, into her shoulders. She looked absolutely horrified. I knocked, she said quietly. I know. You did not respond. I did respond. Her breathing wasn't faster. Her species didn't breathe like humans. But something about her presence felt unstable. I did not detect a response, she said. It's okay, I said gently. She didn't move. Didn't blink. Just stood there glowing like a human emotion trapped inside an alien body. I have failed again, she said. You didn't fail. I entered without certainty. It was an accident. Her hands tightened at her sides. Her glow intensified further. I am experiencing systemic instability, she said quietly. That was new. What does that mean? I asked. She hesitated. Her eyes stayed on me. I am unable to suppress this response. I looked at her glowing skin. You mean the blushing? Yes. She said it like it was a malfunction, like her own emotions had betrayed her. I do not understand why it persists, she said softly. Neither did I. But I was starting to realize it wasn't just embarrassment. It was something deeper. something she didn't have words for yet. She turned away quickly. I will withdraw, she said. She stepped backward toward the door with careful, controlled movements. But her glow didn't fade. If anything, it grew warmer. And for the first time since I had met her, I realized she wasn't afraid of what she had seen. She was afraid of what she had felt. She avoided me for the rest of the night. Not completely. She didn't hide. She didn't isolate herself in her room or shut down like a machine that had encountered an unrecoverable error. She was still present, still moving through the apartment, still existing beside me. But there was distance. Careful, intentional distance. She stayed in the kitchen while I stayed in the living room. She entered the hallway only after I left it. She knocked more than ever now, even on spaces that had never had doors to begin with. At one point, I heard 3 soft taps on the wall beside my bedroom. Not the door. The wall. I stepped out and found her standing there, her hand still raised. Lyra, I said gently. That's not a door. She lowered her hand slowly. I am attempting to avoid intrusion, she said. You're not intruding. Her faint pink glow flickered, betraying her uncertainty.
She didn't respond.
She just walked past me quietly. That hurt more than I expected. Because Lyra had never been quiet before. Not like this. Her curiosity had always filled the space around her. Her questions. Her observations. Her presence. Now it felt like she was shrinking herself. Like she was afraid to exist too loudly. The next morning, I found her sitting near the window. Perfect posture. Hands resting on her knees. Watching the sunrise like it was a mathematical equation she was trying to solve. Her glow was faint now. Almost gone. Just a soft trace beneath her skin. I walked over slowly and sat down across from her. She noticed immediately. I did not detect your approach, she said quietly. You don't have to detect everything, I replied. She didn't smile. That was when I realized I couldn't let this continue. Lyra, I said. Her eyes shifted to meet mine. When you blush, what does it mean? She froze. Not physically. Internally. Her fingers tightened slightly. It is an involuntary biological signal, she said carefully. I know that. But what causes it? She hesitated. And for the first time since I had known her, she looked unsure of whether she wanted to answer. My species evolved to maintain emotional equilibrium, she said slowly. Stability ensures clear decision-making. Predictability ensures survival. I waited. She continued. Blushing occurs when equilibrium collapses. I frowned. Collapses? Yes. Her glow flickered faintly. It indicates loss of emotional containment. That didn't sound like embarrassment. That sounded like vulnerability. What kind of emotions cause it? I asked softly. She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes drifted downward. Unfamiliar emotional states, she said. Like what? She was quiet for a long time. Long enough that I thought she wouldn't answer. Then finally she spoke. Trust, she said quietly. I felt something tighten in my chest. Trust. I repeated. She nodded faintly. When a member of my species feels completely safe, their defensive regulation weakens, she said. Their internal systems stop prioritizing control. Her fingers flexed slightly in her lap. They become exposed. I swallowed. Like privacy, I said. Yes. She looked at me again. Her glow returned faintly. I did not understand human privacy, she said. Because my species does not associate exposure with danger. Her voice softened. But my biology does associate exposure with trust. The realization hit me slowly. You didn't blush because you saw me, I said. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. You blushed because you trusted me. I finished quietly. Her glow deepened. Not bright. Not panicked. Just warm. I did not intend for that to occur, she said softly. You don't control trust, I said. She stared at me, her silver eyes searching mine like she was trying to confirm the truth of something she couldn't measure. I believed I had damaged our functional stability, she said. You didn't damage anything. I caused distress. You cause surprise, I corrected gently.
She processed that.
Her glow flickered again. On my world, she said slowly, emotional exposure is only permitted between bonded individuals. Bonded. The word lingered between us.
Heavy.
Fragile. Important. You don't have to be afraid of that here, I said. I am not afraid, she said.
She paused.
Then added quietly, I am inexperienced. That was the most human thing she had ever said. I smiled slightly. That's okay, I said. She watched my face carefully, analyzing, learning, feeling. Her glow remained steady now, not fading, not overwhelming, just present, comfortable.
Days passed after that.
She still knocked on doors, still announced herself sometimes, still tried to respect human privacy. But she wasn't afraid anymore. She stood closer when we talked, sat beside me on the couch without asking permission. She laughed more. Real laughter. Not experimental. Natural. And sometimes, when our hands brushed accidentally, her skin would glow pink again. Not bright. Not panicked. Just warm. Like her body had stopped treating trust as a malfunction and started treating it as something worth keeping. One night, as we sat together watching another one of her strange ocean documentaries, she leaned slightly closer than usual. Not touching. Just near. I am still learning, she said quietly. I know. She nodded faintly. I may make additional errors. I smiled. That's part of being human. She looked at me, her glow returning softly. I am not human, she said. No, I agreed. But you're doing a pretty good impression.
She didn't laugh.
Not immediately, but her glow deepened. And this time, she didn't try to hide it.